Can I hold the wheel of the best Gran Fondo rider in the world? Luca Cavallo won L'Étape du Tour this year along with almost every other Gran Fondo that he's entered. Today I'm going to see if I have what it takes to stay with him on Gran Fondo PraLoup. This course has over 4,000 meters of climbing with 3 passes over 2,000 meters of elevation. This ended up being an awesome battle both physically and mentally out on the roads with Luca. I strapped on my biggest saddlebag and rode 150 kilometers from my place in Nice to La Mexicaine, my friend's family's bed and breakfast in Josier, near where the Fondo would be taking place. They have an amazing place here at the bottom of Col de la Bonnette. We're in the Mercantour National Park, just at the bottom of the Alps inland from Nice. This area isn't as well known as other parts of the Alps, but it holds some of the best riding that I've ever done.
Yeah. Spotlight, moonlight, nigga, why you tripping, get your Mariah. Sure look good in the moonlight.
We started with quite a chilly descent from PraLoup. This ski town at 1,600 meters is organizing the race as well as hosting the start and finish. It did rain quite a lot the night before, so it led to some really cool low clouds in the morning, but the road was a bit wet and we started on this really narrow, kind of gravelly, bumpy road that was a little bit sketchy. This one guy lost his bottle here. It was a bit hectic trying to stay in the group and not get swarmed by people that were ready to just send it on the first little stretch of the event. But then we got onto the main road and I had to close a couple little gaps to get up to the front. It wasn't too hard to move up here since the road was pretty wide. You might have seen Luca already in his Officine Matteo kit in some of those opening shots. Luckily he's here alone today. He has no teammates, so at least I wouldn't have to be contending with that, as well as him being probably the best Gran Fondo rider in the world. We made this right turn off of the main road and there were still some people up ahead. I knew that Luca wasn't on my wheel here, so I was willing to push a little bit to see if maybe he was out of position and I could try to exploit that, but I didn't want to go crazy at the start here because I knew he had such a long day, and if you've seen my video on Marmot, this is a not too much shorter event and I wanted to take it a little bit conservative. It was a bit tough resisting the urge to attack here and follow some of these guys that were surging, but I knew this would set me up best for my overall goal of trying to hold on to Luca's wheel in the day. I know that I'm not as fit as Luca right now. This Fondo is happening in a bit of a transition period for me, as I just got back from a long trip in the Alps where I haven't been doing a lot of structured training. I started using a new AI coaching app called Rest or Train to help plan my workouts, and they're sponsoring this portion of the video. When I started using Rest or Train, I first set my goal for the rest of this year, which is to hit 440 watts for 20 minutes and PR on Col de la Madone. It then built these different phases leading up to that goal to help structure my overall training. I needed a mental reset after that Alps trip, which for me looks like a 30-hour easy volume block with just a few tempo and sweet spot efforts. I asked Rest or Train to schedule that 30-hour week as my first test of the platform, and its plan was pretty close to what I would have done anyway. For me, the unique selling point of Rest or Train is the integration it has with your data and other platforms. It's synced with intervals.icu, so it sees every workout that I do, as well as putting planned workouts onto my calendar and updating them as needed. Here I asked it to plan a week of training for me, and it's a very reasonable plan, but I don't need to sprint for what I do in Fondos and KOMs, so I told it so, and now it has that saved in memory for the future. It's definitely been getting better as I've used it more and more over the past few weeks. I don't religiously follow the plan, definitely, but I find it helpful to check in with for a second opinion on what I'm doing. I think Rest or Train is a great option for people who are new to structuring their own training, and you can download the app and use my code DRAKE for a free week of their pro plan to check it out.
Does my rear tire look normal?
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels flat.
Yeah.
The legs feel flat, no?
Maybe.
Luckily I didn't have a rear flat, so we got to the top of this first climb, La Conche Montée, and I was a little bit slower than Luca because he started further back, but you can compare the numbers there, and we were both going pretty easy, just a chill climb in the wheels. That's like tempo pace for me. Then we got onto this pretty fast, steep descent back down to the river. We're on this really bumpy, gravelly road again, and this time I got on the front so I could choose my line and make sure I didn't end up going into any giant potholes that could hurt my race and my wheels as well. I got through there unscathed, and then we're onto a main road to the first big climb of the day. We have 3 major climbs left before that little drag back up to PraLoup at the finish. The first one here is Col d'Alos, and I knew this was going to be around 45 minutes at the kind of pace we were going to be doing. It's not too steep, so it's definitely a big benefit to being locked onto Luca's wheel. I didn't want anyone to be doing work for Luca though, so I was trying to convince the group to let him chase since there was a guy up the road. People get eager at the beginning of these events and think that they're going to be Tadej Pogačar and ride the front and ride everyone off the wheel. I did it myself in the Marmot video, but I knew for this I needed to take everything I could out of Luca, and that meant being on his wheel and making him chase.
Luca's coming on your left.
It's quite negative to race this way, but at the end of the day, he's so much stronger than everyone else in this event that I knew it was the only chance I had to do anything against him. Luca's really a specialist at these events. These long days with like 3, 4, 5,000 plus altitude meters. He's just like incredible at this. He's probably low 60 kilos, so that's almost 10 kilos less than me. But today we have some pretty shallow ones, so I knew that I'd be on definitely a bit of an advantage sitting in his wheel. You can see we're going like mid 20 k's an hour, and it's quite a big advantage. People don't think about how much energy you're saving. They think that's low speed, but when the margins are so small, it definitely makes a big difference. Luca was surging a little bit on these steeper sections, but it was still very under control at this point. I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't try to attack or something. I guess there weren't any really steep sections for him to go for it, and that's not really his style. He's more of an attritional kind of guy. Works for him, clearly. He wins so many of these events. I haven't talked about him up to now because he's stuck on my wheel and I don't have any video, but there's another guy on my wheel, Tim Alleman. He's another really accomplished Fondo rider, and he actually started this climb with a little bit of a gap because he was up the road. He's stuck onto my wheel just like I am onto Luca's. Now we're reaching the top of the climb. That was one of Luca's supporters there, and then just some random guy who was probably riding down and got to see us come up. He did a little bit of a surge here, and I was definitely on the limit. We're over 2,000 meters now, and the altitude's really starting to kick. It's a beautiful day out here though, and I'm really enjoying it so far. At this point, we're basically having a nice Luca motor pace training session. Me and Tim are chilling back here, sucking his wheel. I accelerated over the top past Luca because I didn't know where the Strava segment ended, and I wanted to try to get 1 second ahead of him because I figured we were probably on a pretty good pace to set a new KOM. Unfortunately, I ended up tying him, and you can actually see the power data here. It's shockingly close, our power. I don't know if our power meters might read a little bit differently, but he is a lot lighter than me, so for me to be doing that similar of a power, it's definitely showing how strong the draft is. I took a little rolling nature brake on the descent and opened up a gap that kind of exploded on this fast section down here. I think they might have been getting a little bit of help from the motorbike, but I caught out anyway before the next climb, Col de Champs. And this is a bit of a shorter one, like 35 minutes for the KOM. And again, Luca just went on the front and started pacing. I think Tim dropped off at this point. I'm not sure if he had a problem or something, but he dropped off right from the bottom. And so it was just me and Luca now as I'm just trying to hang on to his wheel, and he's definitely trying to drop me at this point. He was surging quite a lot through these corners, but I still felt okay. I was definitely getting on the limit again, but I wasn't going to drop. I was pretty confident in that. This is the stats for this climb, so 34 minutes, and again, really similar power. So we're continuing the Luca sweet spot training. What I didn't get any footage of actually is Luca was trying to drop me on the descent before this last climb, and he was taking a bit of risk and overshot a few of the corners, so I could tell he was starting to get a little bit upset that I was still there. I guess he's used to in these events, people just drop off the wheel and he gets to go solo, but I was still hanging in there, and at this point it kind of turned into a mind game. Luca just completely stopped. We were riding like 200 watts at points. And then Tim actually managed to come back at the bottom of the climb, and he blew past us as we were doing absolutely nothing, playing cat and mouse. I wasn't going to do anything because I know Luca's a lot stronger than me, and the only chance I have is if I can just sit on Luca's wheel as he paces. That's been working pretty well for me so far. But now I guess he was done with it and he was gonna just ride really slow for a while. I'm not sure what his strategy was exactly because he wasn't attacking. He was just riding really slow and doing a little bit of yelling at me in Italian. He doesn't really speak any English, so we couldn't communicate a lot. I need to learn Italian for "I'm absolutely cooked, dude. Just do your own pace." I should really be honored because he clearly thought that I had something to beat him today. So he was willing to play these mind games and see what he could do. Finally, he decided to attack here. We're getting into the last 10 Ks of this really long climb. We're already at 1,600 meters, but we still have quite a ways to go. And he launches it here. We're only doing 18K an hour, so the draft isn't much. And I was already really feeling it. I wasn't bluffing, I was cooked. I was out of water at the bottom of this climb and I was suffering a lot in the heat. I couldn't hold the wheel. I was doing everything I could. I got back on a little bit out of this corner, but he was pushing hard. I mean, I'm doing like almost 500 watts in the wheel, 25k an hour, and he's riding away from me. I knew at this point that I was blown. There wasn't anything else left to do for it. I had to just watch him ride away in the distance. Luca is amazing at these kind of events. He can just do this pace, climb after climb. It's how he wins so many. It's really impressive to see. I think he definitely could do well in pro cycling. There is a bit of a pipeline from these Gran Fondo events to the World Tour. There's a couple of the Italian guys that have managed to do it. He was on a Conti team before, but I think his level has probably gone up quite a lot since then. I wish the best of luck for him, and I think he really deserves a shot. Hopefully we'll get to see him in some pro races soon, but for right now, all I'm doing is seeing him riding away into the distance. I was still doing okay power here, and you can just see how much he's gapping me. In this last 10k, he went like 5 minutes faster than me. I was really struggling to hold zone 2 even at the top. I was pretty fried, and that's a big gap. But on the descent, I started to feel a little bit better, cooled down, and I still didn't have any water. I was hoping there was an aid station at the top, but there wasn't, so I'm still out of water all the way to the finish. And it's an open road. There has been like very little traffic so far. They'd closed a couple of the climbs, but now I was unfortunately not with the lead moto, and I was just stuck in traffic for some of this descent. There's just the last rise back up to PraLoup where we started. That was the final climb, and this was about 15 minutes for Luca, 16 and a half for me. Luca actually commented on my Strava saying he was suffering in the legs and the head, and I could tell it was a fun day out there, and hopefully he didn't take it too badly. It's definitely negative racing and not what I like to normally do, but I think it made for a pretty interesting day out, and you get to see the level of these top-end Fondo riders like Luca. I didn't manage to catch Tim, but I still got to finish on the podium. They had a pretty interesting ceremony. They gave us these hats and the flags of our countries, which was a little bit unusual. These ceremonies are always a little bit different, a little bit funky. I enjoyed this one though. Thanks for watching, and see you in another video soon.